It's like, yeah, I'll bite you.
Just anybody and everybody.
Yeah,
that's what happens to the shitty YouTube commenters now. They get bitten.
Yeah, you've got metal teeth like the guy Jaws, and you're just going to come to their house and you're just going to bite them. Hello and welcome back to Well, There's Your Problem, a podcast about engineering disasters with slides. I'm Justin Rosniak.
Hello.
I'm Justin Rosniak. My pronouns are he, him.
I'm Alice Caldwell Kelly. My pronouns are she and her.
That's right.
No, I'm Liam Anderson. I don't get a joke, so my pronouns are he and him.
We didn't do that one correctly, so everyone could be a different
everyone's gonna
person.
be like, oh, they're making jokes about pronouns, not serious. And then we're gonna get an apology from that dickhead on Twitter in our comment in our DM.
Good. All three of us are deranged for different reasons. Yeah. Roz has the vaccine madness.
Yes.
I'm fasting, and Liam, I'm also very tired, and Liam is just sort of having sort of oppositional defiant disorder at the moment.
Yeah, I was more annoyed that I got bat signaled to come on here in the middle of dinner. So while I was eating,
having dinner must be nice.
Yeah, you know what, Alice, you wanted to convert. You're gonna reap what you sow. All right, I didn't put a gun to your head and say wear a hijab and do whatever other thing. This is of your own free will. You know what would be of my free will? Eating a delicious dinner, halal food. It's so good, Alice. I'm eating the food of your people.
Well,
it's true. After I got the shot yesterday, I went by the halal truck. It was open when I went in to get the shot, and I was like, all right, I'm going to get some nice halal food for lunch. And I came back out, it was closed. I was like, this is annoying.
Yeah, it's because the vaccine's got haram in it. So they
just saw you coming. Like when they opened up after like 8 p.m., it would be like, oh, I can go get halal food now and then start drinking. This is great.
Yeah, I was about to say, if they're open during the day right now, that makes them a haram truck, not a halal truck.
That's true.
They could serve you food. It would just be like, they couldn't eat it.
That makes sense.
I mean, that's good. The temptation's got to be worse, you figure. Anyway, we're talking about Polish 9/11.
Yes.
When 9/11 happened to Poland, this is the Smolensk air disaster. This is a Tupolev 126, and it's not supposed to look like that.
Oh no,
but
usually there's a bit more plane. Yeah,
usually there's more plane. Usually the wings come out horizontally, and normally
I thought this was for weight reduction.
Normally there's not a bunch of Russian firefighters standing around like, oh boy,
not good.
No,
that's it's improving, I guess.
That's right. Don't remember how to say not good in Polish after several months on Duolingo. But first, we got to do the goddamn news.
I like that Alice is just completely showrunner on this one.
I'm sorry. I got off of...
Go. We're not doing distractions. We're not even doing jokes.
Yeah, this is a flat engineering podcast. Now, I just got off of doing an episode of Kill James Bond, and because we would talk about On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the Lazenby
that movie
one.
Is goddamn terrible,
right? And because I showrun that, I'm still in showrunner brain. So I'm sorry, Roz. I just bloodlessly cooed you. You go ahead.
Okay, so it's happened again. Brooklyn Center police have accidentally discharged a gun into a man named Duante Wright at a traffic stop.
There was an officer-involved shooting in that they murdered a guy, but like the person who murdered him was an officer. So
this time they feel bad about it, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Second-degree manslaughter charge this afternoon.
Well, at least they're making an attempt at charging them, so that is sort of an improvement. But not him, her.
Can't wait for yet another prolonged trial process, as is currently going on in Minneapolis.
Yeah,
looking forward to a lot of like subject matter experts testifying that like he just like his he just did that. It was unrelated to the
Yeah, so it was. Unfortunately, I was compelled to accidentally grab for my gun as opposed to my taser owing to reasons.
Well, I saw a black person, and as you do, I reached for my gun. You understand? We're all in Minnesota. We're all racist here.
This cop was she was like a 20-year veteran, was the head of the police union, and was a field training officer. So she was training new cops how to be cops when this happened.
And supposedly reached for the wrong thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's her defense, by the way, is I am dangerously irresponsible and cannot be trusted with firearms. That's the less bad narrative.
Exactly. That's the least bad version. Is I'm just an incompetent moron who happened to kill a guy.
Yeah.
I never meant to hurt nobody. Of course.
Yep.
Very. It's just this shit is still happening. It's very depressing.
I haven't watched the video because
I'm not going to watch the video. To watch any more videos.
I usually do just to, like, you know, whatever.
Bum yourself out.
Yeah. As like a sort of minor act of self-harm, but in this case, I just was not.
No, I just, I guess we should talk about that but given the protests, you know, you can cut this out, and I guess we go back to the bail funds and shit. The once a year bail fund sale.
Yeah, the once a year bail fund sale, yeah.
All right, yeah.
This becomes like Afghanistan. You just have a fighting season, like 5 months out of the year.
Give bail funds your money, and then you get bonus episodes. And if you don't give bail funds your money, I will come to your house and rearrange your face for you.
Yeah, by biting.
I'm just so fucking. I think what it is just so fucking tired of seeing like real life human beings on Twitter who are just like, actually, you know, I'm not saying he deserved to be brutally executed by the state, but he was a criminal. Like, I don't give a fuck what he was. Like, no, if the best argument you can make is actually I'm just dumb as dog shit, that's not helpful to your cause. Would be like, I can't, like, you know, it kind of got co-opted by the libs. But like, I can't make you like compassionate about other human beings, and like learning that is very difficult. Like, it's very hard to accept that like you can't force people to give a shit about other people. But what I can do, and what you should all do, is basically make those people absolutely as uncomfortable as possible. Like, I was arguing with some, like, because, you know, this is how I get my jollies. Alice is screaming on Twitter. It's like, if you can bully these people into at least shutting up.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is bullying works. All cops are bastards.
Yeah, it's time for some targeted harassment.
It's time for our annual bail funding. We're like, what is that? The NPR donor drive, except we are asking you to bail people out of prison.
Funded by cyber bullies like you.
Yes.
And I mean, like, even the libs at this point have internalized the thing about how, hey, you know, the cops, they're not supposed to just murder guilty people either. So
yes.
And we're starting to even get to people who are just like, oh, the cops aren't supposed to murder white people in cold blood either. And it's like, come on, you're almost there, you dumb assholes.
Baby steps with these fucking people.
Dude, I just like. Also, I do want to say. Oh, never mind. Do want to say.
I just want to say a series of like actionable threats of violence against the following named persons.
No, I just wanted to specifically, while we're doing our news roundup, which is just me screaming. I wanted to tell my mother, good luck recovering from your eye surgery. I love you very much. Aww. I know you listen to this podcast. And to my dad, never comment on anything I ever type ever again, old man. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for
parents. Yeah, if you go back to the last episode, you can see Liam's dad absolutely fucking ether us in the comments for our white supremacy, and he's not wrong.
I like all the people who are just like, oh, like my dad is complaining about Pepe Le Pew, and your dad's like, I'm here to correct my son's white supremacist statements on infrastructure. And I was just like, you know what's funny? I told him to, because he's on Twitter at PA Old Guy. If you want to get him up to 1,000 followers,
that's a great
scare the shit out of him. But it's really funny because I called him to like. Because he was super cute. He was like, well, can I leave a comment on your YouTube? And I was like, yeah, you do whatever you want. I don't care. And
yeah, you're an adult.
Yeah, and then like he was like, okay, I did it, like really mischievously. And I had to give him the good news. I was like, congratulations, Dad. Thousands of people across the internet think you're better than me.
Yeah.
All right.
I cede control.
Speaking of Afghanistan.
Hey, that segue I set up minutes before has paid off.
Yeah, the segue that was 5 minutes ago. Yeah. Taliban becomes first U.S.-supported insurgency to win a war.
We didn't lose.
I'm not sure if that's strictly historically true, but I wrote it down and I laughed when I was doing it, so it's comedically correct.
I am really enjoying the but if we just stay there longer, and I'm just like, we've been staying there longer for 20 years. Yeah. You physically control in Afghanistan whatever piece of land you happen to be standing on at the moment.
The Dems,
all of it is Pavlov's house.
The Dems in Congress who might be about to fucking try to oppose this are like, their line right now is, yes, we want to leave, but nobody wants us to leave and then have to go back. And I'm like, you don't have to do that.
You don't have to go. You don't have to go back to Afghanistan.
Anything.
No,
it's not U.S. territory. You don't have to worry about what happens there.
Turn the car around.
Why don't we have a war in a place people can point to?
Yeah.
Not that we should have any wars at all, since whatever person in the comments is going to be like, Liam's an imperialist. No, I'm not. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's going to be your dad.
There's no economic or strategic value in controlling Afghanistan.
I kind of miss heroin, but it's the Silk Road, but it's the U.S. controlled portion of the Silk Road. It's like you thought the tariffs were bad before, motherfucker.
Yeah, so maybe this is going to provoke a civil war and a genocide when we leave.
Yeah, it's gotta, but you can't win them all.
Can't win them all. Yeah, so anyway, we're withdrawing from Afghanistan by September 11th. Nice quick 20-year war. Does seem like
it was nice round number.
It was all worth it, and all of the people who have suffered, both American and Afghan and British and everyone else, will know that it wasn't for nothing, and it wasn't just like a futile colonial exercise and a sort of spasm after 9/11.
We are, though, apparently leaving behind a bunch of private military contractors. Because
but those are the most responsible guys, so they're going to acquit themselves very well.
Why are they always shouting in my fucking house? Kurt and Megan will never listen to it. They don't listen to this anyway, but one of these days, I'm just going to open my door and just start screaming and scream back. I'm actually very nice and restrained. If we ever form enough parasocial relationships to have a live show, you'll be shocked by how nice and polite and restrained I am.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm just fucking throwing drinks off the stage at people.
Yes.
That one's got cut in a bar fight by some dude who just hurled a pint glass at me.
And no cunt leaves here till we figure out what cunt did it.
You get enough bar fights, they all sort of run together.
Much like the US and Afghanistan.
Yes.
You do enough surges, and after a while.
They actually started in a bar fight. It's all long-term grudge. Because Bin Laden had a hat when he came in, and he'll have a hat when he goes out. Yeah.
I love that every Newfoundland drinking song is just like, all right, so we were at this wake, right? We got a little too drunk, right? Now, for the next 25 hours, we're going to describe in exacting detail just what happened to us, the corpse, and the corpse's wife.
Well, that's because they just ripped it off of Irish drinking songs and replaced Ireland with Newfoundland.
Can you make Finnegan's Wake scan to Bin Laden's wake?
You could try.
You could probably
dumped him overseas. Something about the porn stash. I don't know. Next slide, please.
Yes. Okay.
It's fucking.
The great bastard.
We see here before Stalin had implemented a 5-year plan to increase the amount of pixels in the Soviet Union.
It's this guy's fault. This is the prime mover of what we're talking about here. Everybody's going to get very mad at us.
I encourage you to die mad.
My God, he said something negative about Stalin.
Yeah,
that's right.
Left unity, baby.
So there was this thing called the Katyn massacre, where after the Soviet Union invaded Poland with the cooperation of Nazi Germany,
Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, for those of you keeping score
not one
home.
of the Soviet Union's finest moments. They captured as prisoners of war a large number of Polish officers. What are we going to do with these guys? Well, we got like camps in Siberia we could send them to. And Stalin's like, nah, you got to kill all of them, which they do. The NKVD just methodically shoot their way through all of them and then dump their bodies in a mass grave in the woods.
Fantastic.
That's efficiency, baby.
No repercussions. It's never going to be found out because who's going to just be digging up woods in fucking Western Russia, right? It's going to be fine. And now we don't have to worry about Polish anti-communists because we killed all of them for like no reason, more or less. And this has the oddity of being a war crime that was exposed by the Nazis, because it turns out that who just digs up a forest in the Western Soviet Union is the Nazis when they invade it. And they stumble across the first mass grave that they weren't currently filling and decide, oh, hey, this could be a useful propaganda thing. They invite a bunch of international press and the Red Cross, and they're like, look at these murders that the Soviets did. And even to this day, you will find like teen Bolshevist on Twitter telling you that it's all Nazi propaganda. And there's Nazi propaganda based on the truth, because that's something
the truth is pretty heinous.
An actual thing that happened.
Yeah, they'll do that.
Yeah, because that's the most effective form of propaganda is the truth, because you can prove it. And so that's what happened. Anyway, Katyn is this embarrassment to the post-Stalin USSR and also to post-Soviet Russia. And at the time we're beginning our story in 2010, they don't admit that this was Stalin's idea. They usually just blame it on Beria, or, just like random NKVD guys who just decided to shoot a bunch of Polish officers. Next slide, please. So what we have here is our boy Putin at the one of the yearly memorials for it, and it's a big deal in Russian-Polish relations. It's sort of part of the foundational, I don't want to say mythology because it's a real thing, but it's part of the ideology of the modern Polish Republic, right? And so every year, the president of Poland goes there and like lays wreaths with the Russian president or prime minister, and you take absolutely everybody with you, and you can't like not go.
All right, everyone, get in a big car. We're going to drive to Smolensk.
Yeah, you get in a van. You get in a van.
Yeah,
with all your Polish pals.
Do you want to see the van?
Big red and white van.
That's not what would be ideal. Oh God, it's got the Purina logo on it.
I really like the Polish Air Force roundel. I think it's stylish.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I've seen. Listen, I've seen your taste in military garb. I withhold comment.
This is a Soviet-built airliner. It's a Tupolev Tu-154.
Oh, well, if it's Soviet-built, sign my ass up.
I was about to say.
If anybody remembers the NATO code name for a Tu-154, tell me, because I don't.
Foxglove?
No, it would start with a C.
Yeah, you're right, because
it's a civilian airliner.
No, you're right. Careless. Oh, boy.
That's awkward. Yeah, that's real awkward.
Very awkward, yes.
So the Polish Air Force operate two of these, flown by Air Force crews as, I've written down here, Pole Force 1.
Okay.
Air
Force
Pole.
Air Force Pole. Yeah. So to get to the Katyn Memorial, the entire Polish delegation, which is the president, Lech Kaczynski, and a bunch of military brass, the president's wife, a shitload of reporters, the former president of the Polish government in exile, and just a fuckload of dudes pile onto the big red and white van, and it's going to fly them. Next slide, please. Yonder from Warsaw to Smolensk.
Yes.
Over Belarus.
A similar path that many military leaders have taken before. They usually get about to Smolensk before things start going south.
Yeah, Smolensk in many ways the Philadelphia of Russia, in that it's where bad things happen.
Yes.
You don't know me. You don't know.
Philadelphia twinned with Smolensk.
Oh God.
What day is this and what year? We should probably mention that.
That's a great question. 10th of April 2010.
All right. So
on the 10th of April 2010 at 9:27 a.m., the plane leaves Warsaw, running like half an hour late. And ahead of it, because this is a big presidential delegation, there's a small like business jet. It's a Yak 40 that's got the presidential press pool in it. That flies ahead to Smolensk, and it lands in absolutely dog shit weather. It's foggy, it's raining, and when those guys land at Smolensk, they call back to Air Force Pole, and they say, "Hey, the weather here is fucking atrocious."
I think they actually said it is absolute shit, like verbatim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what do? Well, in Moscow, in Russia, there's not a lot of airports. Right. Is the thing.
Right.
The nearest one to Smolensk is, I think it's Vnukovo, but it's one of the Moscow ones, which is 213 miles away.
Yes.
If you want to get to Smolensk, you pretty much, if you're a normal person, you go by train. Like, part of the reason why it's an attractive place to cite your Stalinist massacre is because it's a backwater, right?
Yes.
So those are your options. You try and like chance your landing in the fog where this guy is like telling you, yeah, it's shitty.
You can't see anything, right?
Yeah, or you fly to the wrong city and just kind of deal with it.
Yeah, then you have to like, I don't know. I don't even know if there was like a highway between Moscow and Smolensk.
There's got to be a train
line.
There
is a train line, yeah. But you got to arrange for the president of Poland and his delegation. Like, you got to get a railroad car for them and everything.
Yeah,
would have been complicated.
I do kind of like the idea of the Smolensk tourism board being like, you need to massacre your enemies. You think where I go, then it happens upon you. Smolensk is open for business.
Smolensk.
That's what I say.
Smolensk.
I'm tired and mad at you. So
we're all tired.
And mad at each other.
We're now going to conduct a detailed survey of the interpersonal, political, geopolitical, geostrategical, sociological factors affecting a flight crew's judgment. Next slide, please.
Okie dokie.
Everyone sucks. Oh, this makes me sad.
People don't like getting yelled at.
No.
I mean, even people who are in the military and they get yelled at a lot, they still don't like it. And one problem with being on any sort of VIP thing is that that's a lot of people who outrank you.
And a lot of people whose job depends on them yelling at you.
Yes.
Yeah, and who are assholes, politely. And theoretically, most militaries have a thing called situational command, right? Where you can still be in charge of stuff even if you're not the highest ranking person there. Like, so if you're in command of like a guard post, a guy dressed as like somebody higher ranking than you can't just tell you to open it. Or if you're flying a plane, a guy who's a higher rank than you can't just tell you what to do with your plane, right? In practice, though, people don't like getting yelled at, and especially people don't like getting yelled at by people who can ruin their careers.
Yes.
Well,
so the commander of this flight crew is a major, and in the cockpit, just sort of uninvited but hanging out, is the head of the Polish Air Force, who is a lieutenant general. By my calculation, that would be his boss's boss.
That's what you want on the in the cockpit, is someone who's going to cause that much tension just from his presence. Yeah.
We also have the president's chief of protocol. Protocol is like diplomatic formalities, the guy who has to arrange the train car.
Oh,
and he's going back and forth to the president, who Kaczynski, who is, God rest his soul, is a fucking asshole, just in general. Interpersonally, he's a pain in the fucking ass. And so this guy clearly does not want to have to arrange a train car or a fucking convoy or whatever at short notice. Yeah. So the flight crew tell this guy, the chief of protocol, hey, the weather's pretty bad, we might have to divert. And the chief of protocol says, well, we got a big fucking problem then.
Problem, yeah. Maybe there's no highway and there's no train cars, so they have to go overland and it's sort of just like spin tires type. They have to set up like a logging truck for everyone.
I'm not loving the SnowRunner DLC. So I mean, we've gotten to the point where like legally none of these people can just order the pilots, hey, land the plane at Smolensk anyway. They still should get to exercise their own judgment, but this is weighing pretty heavily on that judgment, right?
Yep.
There's one point in the cockpit voice recorder where the navigator says that if they have to divert, the president's going to go nuts. And there's a small anecdote here, which is 2 years earlier, and this is further to my point about Lech Kaczynski being an asshole. He didn't know how planes worked, so he got onto Air Force Pole, and as they were taking off, he was like, "No, I actually want to go to this different place instead." Like in the air, he tried to change the destination.
Right. That's not good.
I mean, you can't really do that. Like, you have to have a flight plan and stuff if you're going to fly somewhere. And if you can't just decide you're going to change the thing where you're going. And so that's what the captain of that flight tells him. Just like, yeah, no, I can't
do that.
Really. No, that's not how planes work, Mr. President. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to have your job for this. And he did. So if you want to keep your job in like, which is pretty prestigious, right? Like you're flying the president around.
Right.
That's,
yeah.
A lot of people probably want that job, and there's a long line. If you want to keep doing it, you have to make the guy happy. And if you're not going to like even bend the rules for him, then he's going to get you reassigned. Well, you kind of feel like you take a chance on the bad weather, right?
Yeah, you're like, we could probably handle this, right? How hard can it be?
You want to see how hard it can be? I got a slide of the weather.
Set sail for romance.
I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah, this is the weather for which the Smolensk region is most famous, is fucking impenetrable fog. It's like there's something about the topography of the area, right, which again makes it very useful for doing mass murders in. It's very sort of undulating, lots of hills, lots of ravines, very thickly forested.
It's definitely mass grave digging weather right there.
Yeah, lots of holes to just put corpses in,
Yep.
Yeah.
Kick them over both points.
Because it's so, I don't know, topographical, I guess, this stuff just comes off of the hills and it fills up the valleys and it just sits there. But I mean, it's fine. You're flying to Smolensk North Airport. I don't know why it's called Smolensk North Airport. There isn't a Smolensk anywhere else airport.
Oh, there is a smaller airport to the south.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. I don't know how that escaped my notice. Well, let's have a look at Smolensk North Airport. This is the bigger one and the more well-maintained one, the more advanced one.
I was about to say, they got a bit of a grade on that runway. I don't think that's such a great idea.
Give you the sort of ski jump thing. Look, if you can do it on aircraft carriers, why not?
It looks like a Kmart parking lot.
Yeah, it does. This looks like somewhere where I would foolishly try to max out the GTI.
Yeah.
And I would be very confused as parts started coming off of it.
Here's the cart return here.
I knew someone once who was arrested for shoplifting from a Kmart, and they were middle class, so it wasn't like they couldn't afford this stuff. It was just a matter of
the thrill of petty
getting arrested at a Kmart, though.
The thrill of shoplifting from the Kmart. I mean,
what else is there to do in New
master
York?
criminal
Nothing.
shit. Yeah. Next slide, please. We got another view of this Kmart. This is the air traffic control at Smolensk North Airport.
Oh, this looks like I've actually dropped here in Warzone.
I was gonna say, yeah, feeling my trigger finger itching.
Yeah, good loot up here.
Yeah. This was a military airfield and not a hugely important one.
I like the idea they tried to put camo paint just on a building.
Yeah, break up that silhouette.
That's
that
how we don't get
tower.
bombed during the Blitz. Is what
I figure you would put the camo on the roof, not on the sides.
Yeah, well, you don't know. What if they're coming from the other way? You don't know. You don't know.
This seems like a way for a plane to accidentally roll into the ATC. I can't call this a tower. This is a shed.
I like the ladder.
This is my air traffic control shed. That's Jim over there. He's been dead for 6 weeks, but no one's coming to replace him, so I just do weird shit with his corpse. Ain't that right, Jim? That's right, Joey. We got a busy one today here, folks. It's just a corpse trying to get its van. Yeah, I'm really tired.
We got some environmental storytelling. Yeah, because they don't have an interior staircase there. So if you want to get up on the roof to see where stuff's coming from,
yeah, the pilot's gotta like wind his window down. You gotta get a big bullhorn. Runway tow, please.
This was a military airfield, but it wasn't one by this point because the Russian Air Force had decommissioned it the year before. They're like, we don't need this. Theoretically, it did civilian flights, but like only internal Russian ones. And then I don't know if there actually were any. So this thing it wasn't in like any of the databases for flight plans or terrain. Legally speaking, internationally speaking, this was not an airport. It was just a flat thing. There was like a skeleton Russian Air Force crew to like keep the lights on and climb up the ladder to like yell runway 2 at you.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. And also it's in very bad terrain. Like just in general, apart from the sort of vibes of the area, it's on a hill, which you don't really want to have an airport in a sort of like thing where you can come down and be below the level of the runway and not on it.
That's usually not a good situation to be in. Yeah.
So also like, well, we'll get to that with the next slide, please. Also, they were supposed to trim back the trees like in front of the runway on each side.
Did they?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's birch trees too, so they grow like pretty tall and pretty fast. So, but, I mean, look, that's not necessarily disqualifying. Yeah. I mean, modern planes, they basically land themselves, don't they?
Oh, yeah, that's what they want you to think.
Just maintain speed and altitude. They can't actually fly the goddamn plane for you.
Well, the problem.
Listen.
The problem with
you got
Smolensk, of course, is it does not have a system we would call an instrument landing system, right? Which is basically a series of like radar and radio signals and a whole bunch of other bullshit, which I don't understand. But the gist of it is that if you can now fly the plane to within a half mile and 61 vertical feet of a runway, just without having any sort of visual reference to anything. And by that point, you're supposed to be able to see the runway and you sort of take over from there, right? This airport had formerly had some kind of non-compliant Soviet ILS system.
Nice.
And
hell yes. Best technology in the world.
When they decommissioned it as a military airfield, they deactivated that system and replaced it with nothing.
Now, in fairness, they did have lights. All of the bulbs may have been broken.
Oh, I forgot about that part. Yeah.
And also, like, not replaced at all. Several of them were just burnt out. But, like, they did have lights. Sort of.
All right, good start.
Maybe.
One thing I found out, which was interesting, is you see these buildings down here. Mm-hmm. This is the Yakovlev factory.
Oh, irony.
Yeah, I know, right? I didn't know. So apparently, they can build aircraft here, but I assume they have to test them somewhere else.
Yeah, by putting them on a train. And if only they had put our anti-hero here on a train.
Yeah. Well, Boeing ships 737 fuselages by train.
Yeah.
Just the whole assembled fuselage. They stick it on a flat car, and they send it to Renton, where they put the wings on.
So you can do that with a plane, but not with a president.
Apparently, yeah.
He's just that much of an asshole.
They just put the whole plane on the train. Maybe you wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah, that's the plan. Is you got to put the whole Tupolev on a flat car.
Flawless.
It's genius.
All right, so they're flying in, right? They're flying on the plane into the airport, and they're on instruments, right? Because it's very foggy.
Okay. Sure.
So your ordinary sort of instrument approach, you got your ILS systems providing lots of information to the pilot about stuff like, the glide slope, which is, the slope at which you approach the airport, sort of how your angle of approach, all this other stuff about the flight plan, right? And it's usually used in concert with a sort of predetermined instrument approach procedure, right? Which is a sort of standardized set of maneuvers to get an aircraft from the flight altitude down to the airport, right? So, and if you're flying into an international airport or something like that, you have all of that stuff, right? But Smolensk North does not have ILS, and it does not have instrument approach procedures, right? Their main navigational aid are 2 non-directional radio beacons.
Cool.
And basically what that is it's a radio beacon that provides a constant signal.
Yeah, it provides like a dumb stream of Morse of its own name.
Yeah,
which is going to be like a sound. It'll be like scorch.
Does it have any like directional? Wait,
no, it's non-directional.
No, non-directional. But like, no, sorry, I wasn't saying like any. So nothing at all. What I mean, not even north-south, but like.
No.
Oh, okay. So it's totally dummy.
Basically, no information. Okay. Yeah, other than here is the airport.
Okay, that was sort of my question, and I didn't know if there was another one that said "wrong way, asshole." Not even if it's directional, but I am happy that my favorite ska band, Srila Manifesto, is making an appearance here.
The airport is so backwater that the air traffic controllers don't speak English. All your air traffic control is carried out in Russian, right?
Yeah, you have your landing is being conducted by Dmitry, who has climbed the ladder,
yes,
and is going to essentially wave you in like you're parking a truck.
Yeah, and he's and only one member of the Polish flight crew spoke Russian, so that was
oh no,
or spoke enough Russian to air traffic control. I think he was also flying the plane, which he shouldn't have.
Yes,
been doing.
He was. No, like at that point, you're supposed to give it to the co-pilot and you talk and he flies, but he is like, no, just do both.
Yeah. So, essentially what they're relying on to fly this plane at this point is, the radio altimeter, the non-directional beacons, and the TAWS, the terrain avoidance and warning system, right? And what that is the TAWS is the little man who lives in the plane, and he says terrain when you get too close to something, right? He wants you to know about the terrain so you don't do something called a CFIT, which is a controlled flight into terrain.
How controlled is it? Oh, I guess it is. Because you're not.
No, right. There's actually a separate thing called an uncontrolled flight into terrain.
You can just say a plane crash. It's like what they say in the event of a water landing. That's just a plane crash, man.
No,
it's like when a cause of death is cardiac failure.
No,
it's like you're confusing the event and the
who would do that?
The controlled flight into terrain is a very specific thing where the pilot has complete control of the aircraft the whole time.
Right as he smashes into a hill, yeah.
Right as he smashes into a hill, yes.
Didn't the
20 seconds before.
fronts do that right into a hill, killing himself and like 60 other people, but that was kind of on purpose. He crashed him right into a mountain.
Andreas Lubitz.
Thank you.
Yeah. Air Berlin, I want to say. No, German Wings. Yeah, and that was in the fucking Haute Savoy, I think. Anyway.
You can also have controlled flight into terrain accidentally, if there's low visibility, as we may see.
Right, because say you're surrounded by massacre fog.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you figure, okay, the conditions are very bad. Navigational aids are non-existent. They're going to try and, play it safe with this approach, right? If they were really playing it safe, they would have diverted to Moscow. But they're going to, try and do this approach safely otherwise, right?
Sure.
And you'd be wrong.
Terrific.
Listen, shit just hits different when you have your 6 times boss just in the cockpit watching you. Incidentally, rated as an instructor on, as far as I know, everything the Polish Air Force flew. So he's just watching you.
He's just watching you the whole time, like,
Just say as his face becomes half mountain.
Yeah. So the terrain avoidance warning system told them terrain at 10:40 a.m., right? Because Tawz was confused since he didn't know that Smolensk North Airport existed, right?
Terrific.
It was just not in the system, right? So to shut him up, someone in the flight crew pressed a button that reset the altimeter, so Tawz thought he was higher up than he was. The other altimeters were functioning correctly, though, so they still had reliable altitude from everybody except the warning system.
Sure.
They also realized they started their descent too late, so they decided to increase their vertical speed to a whopping 8 meters per second, which is a much steeper slope than what the aircraft was rated for on approach.
God fucking damn it.
Uh-oh.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's going to be the priest with more survival rations.
Fantastic. This led to the airspeed of the plane increasing, right?
Sure. It's just dropping right on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, they're flying in this airport. They're overspeed. They're blind. They're descending rapidly. Their engines are at idle, which is going to be a problem in a second. They're about 300 meters in the air as indicated by the radar altimeter, right? Whose readings the navigator is calling out. And this proves to be a problem, right? Because your radar altimeter gives you your actual altitude with regard to the ground directly underneath you, right?
Sure.
And if there's undulating terrain, that data is kind of meaningless, right?
Sure.
So what they should have been using was the pressure altimeter, which gives you the altitude with regard to sea level, thereby giving you an accurate reading all the way on into the runway. And Smolensk is, of course, built on a hill, so this is very important. Another problem is the engines are at idle. Now, during approach, it's useful to have engines which respond quickly to throttle changes. At idle, the engines might take up to 8 seconds to spool up to full power, but at some larger fraction of throttle, the engine response is much quicker, right? But since the pilots were already having trouble burning off all that speed, of course, the engines were just at idle, right?
Right.
As they're descending around 200 meters, the Tawz system again got mad and started saying terrain, pull up, and just kept saying pull up through the remainder of the flight, right?
I just want to point out, I want a quick aside. When Roz and I are traveling, and Roz and I were going to the mountains a couple weeks ago, and we binned it. We drove down a road that wasn't a road. And then a man got very mad at us because that is maybe his driveway, maybe not. And what did Roz have to say as we got stuck in the mud? Terrain, pull up. This was Roz's reaction to us getting stuck in the pouring rain in mud in a Volkswagen GTI.
Yes.
And then, to your credit, you crawled around on the ground looking for a tow hook hole. So, yeah.
That is true. Yeah.
Awesome. They also have a Russian man yelling at them because they have fucking Dmitry or whatever in the control shed who is reading their altitude for them off of a Russian military radar that is just literally a big antenna on top of a trailer.
He's just screaming it out at them?
He's telling them what their altitude is relative to the glide slope. He's also wrong every time. And then as they get low enough, he's like, okay, this isn't going to work. Just level out. And they're like, what? Does not pass at all.
Yeah, I think it was like he was silent for like 12 seconds because everyone was confused. Now, the engines are at idle around 200 meters in the air. They should have, according to the procedures written down in the Tupolev, they should have initiated a go-around, right? Which is exactly what it sounds like. You abort the landing, you go around, you try again, right? And in fact, both the captain and the first officer said they were going to go around, but for some reason they didn't actually go through with it, right? The aircraft continued to descend.
I'll do it later.
Still completely blind. And so they get down to about 60 meters radar altitude. The ground comes into sight, and the crew realizes they fucked up. They were 60 meters radar altitude was 15 meters below the level of the runway.
That's bad.
Hey, you're a submarine now.
Yeah.
The Polish submarine, that's worse than a Polish airplane.
So
you don't want to be measuring your altitude in a negative figure.
Yeah, that's generally not a good situation for a plane to be in. Right, unless you got an airport in like Death Valley, or like what's the one in Israel that's really low?
The Dead Sea.
The Dead Sea, yeah.
Doing a Dead Sea water landing. That'd be
cool. That's what I did when I jumped into the Dead Sea. I just and then I floated. It was crazy.
I understand.
That's right. I did an imperialism, folks. I did an imperialism.
There's like a little.
Please edit that out. Please edit that out.
There's a little bar next to the Dead Sea.
This is the lowest bar in the world.
It's called the lowest bar in the world.
Yeah. Ask Corinne what it's like.
I still managed to clear it.
Ask Corinne what it's like to date me, baby.
All right. So they realize, okay, this is bad. They instinctively go full throttle, maximum rate of climb, right? The engines, of course, take 8 seconds to spool up, so that didn't do much. But it's too late anyway because the left wing collided with a tree.
They later worked out that even if they had done it like as much as like a minute earlier, they just would have stalled the plane and crashed anyway.
Yeah. So, the left wing collided with a tree. The last 21 feet of the wing sheared off, including the aileron. So the plane rolls over the left and the wing collides with the ground. Then the nose hits the ground. Then it sort of disintegrates and cartwheels onto the runway. Everyone on board died instantly.
100 G.
Yeah.
Fuck that noise.
100 G impact. Yeah. And
that's soup. You're soup.
Yeah, you turned into a processed homogenate at that point.
We accidentally decapitated the Polish state. And then sort of...
Yeah, we accidentally did a first strike against... Yeah. Against the government of Poland, because the president dies, the first lady dies, I think the minister of defense dies, like 2/3 of the armed forces senior generals die.
A bunch of members of parliament too.
Yep.
So this was not good. They're all dead now.
Because eloquent as always.
Yes.
But this had some political implications, even aside from the thing. And to explain that, we have to talk about our two beautiful, identical boys, the Kaczynski brothers.
Oh boy.
I don't know which one is which. One of these fuckers is Lech, who was the president who got killed. The other one is Yaroslav. Now, after these two founded together a party called the Law and Justice Party, Prawo i Sprawiedliwość, and I apologize to all Polish people listening. Duolingo has not served me well. Anyway, that was always sort of center-right-ish, I guess. But eventually, after Lech is killed, Yaroslav becomes president. He also becomes significantly crazier.
Oh boy!
He's probably got some PTSD to work out.
He's probably got some PTSD. He's also kind of got dementia. Right. Like he starts muttering about like enemies and stuff. And there's a real rightward turn in Polish politics after this, because it's kind of like if the analogy that I'm drawing here is, you remember Jeb?
Yes.
And all of the other like moderate Republicans who are like, well, we like doing all of the bad stuff, but we don't
we
like
want
it
to
when
put a smiley
we say,
face on it, goddammit.
when we say that we're happy about it. Yeah, exactly. Imagine if all of those guys had been killed on 9/11, right? And it kind of like gives you the vibe here. Because instead of living long enough to get owned by a game show host or whatever, instead you have a massive act of genuine national trauma. Like, Poles are fucking shocked by this, and for good reason, because it's so implausible that this would happen. And then all of the sort of like respectable politicians, the greater part of the Polish political establishment, are just fucking gone. And you get like this very weird thing that happens. Next slide, please. Because we see our boy Putin at Lech Kaczynski's funeral being sort of uncharacteristically emotional.
Yes.
And like genuinely something seemed to get through to the Russians about this one, because it was so unexpected. And it really did shock people on both sides, to the point where they showed the Polish film about the Katyn massacre on Russian TV for the first time. The Duma passed a resolution acknowledging that it was Stalin who ordered it personally. And for a good few weeks, right, there was this weird opportunity for a genuine reset in Russian-Polish relations. They were cooperating together on the investigation into this. And it I don't know, something really could have changed. And of course it did not. It
obviously
was wasted.
Just waste that opportunity,
no.
Yeah.
Next slide, please. Part of the reason why is, well, the politics of Yaroslav Kaczynski and others. But it also created a great deal of weirdness in Polish society. There were some guys who put up a memorial cross outside the presidential palace, and in an extremely Catholic way. And then when people objected to this on the basis that, hey, this is still a secular republic, and also you just fucking put that up on state property, you can't do that. You got these cross defenders.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
Fully statue defending guys, except they had just put the statue up themselves. Just getting in scuffles, getting in fights with people, because we have to preserve the sort of the Catholic character of our state and stuff. And along with this, we have another form of derangement, which is the thing that I'm showing here, which is the truthers, the conspiracy theorists. Trotil is Polish for TNT.
Oh boy. So they think they put a bomb on the plane.
It's a controlled goddamn demolition.
No, it was a controlled flight into terrain.
Yeah.
Listen, Raz, I don't know why you're impugning the bravery of the Polish armed forces against what was clearly a Russian plot to destabilize the republic.
No, I believe there was a bomb on the plane. I just think they controlled flight into terrain did.
Yeah.
Just as a just coincidentally, where every conspiracy goes off at once.
Do you guys not normally carry the bombs on your flights? Just over there is Paul. He's the bomb handler. It's Paul in one commercial airline seat, and then just a bomb next to him, and he's got to be the bomb watcher, just sitting there, trying to ask the bomb what it likes to do on the weekends. Normal stuff.
This is absolutely the Polish right is fully in crank territory about this stuff. If you fucking Google in Polish TNT on the wing or whatever, ever since the official inquiry came out, the bipartisan Russian-Polish one that was they just flew it into the fucking birch trees. These fucking guys have been well, actually, you know what we found on this thing is we found particles from chemicals.
Yeah, I bet you
do. You know what?
I've never heard of any
fucking
chemicals on a plane before. I can tell you that much.
You know what that means? You know where chemicals come from? Is fucking Russia. All right.
It's true.
And so.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, that makes sense to me. Cut it here. Cut it here.
Got the chemicals from the only place you get chemicals, which is Russia.
Yeah. And so, like, it's so bleak that you had something that genuinely seemed to advance a cause of cross-cultural dialogue and is now fully like the equivalent of Russiagate stuff. There's this guy, Anthony Macierewicz, who did his own competing report, which is wildly stupid. Also, the guy looks like an older Polish version of Jafar from Aladdin, which suggested that, like, the people in there were screaming because they knew that the plane was being shot down by a missile.
All right.
When they asked him about this, and they were like, well, how do you know that? Because there was just a cockpit voice recorder, right? There was nothing recording the passenger compartment. He was like, well, I mean, I just assumed. Also, you can kind of hear it on the cockpit voice recorder.
Maybe you guys can't hear it, but
no further questions.
I think they shot it down with a missile, but the missile hit after it hit the tree, so it was still actually just controlled.
Yeah, the missile was really just for emphasis.
The missile missed because it didn't think the plane could be at that low of an altitude.
Oh, is that like my stop with camel theory?
Yeah.
So, of two other abiding consequences of this, one is that there's a massive state-approved, non-cross-formed memorial in Warsaw, which takes the form of like a staircase to nowhere. But the staircase doesn't go all the way down. At ground level, it's just sheer, and the reason why it's sheer is because otherwise people would climb it. And to the point where there was just like one of my Polish friends sent me a photo of like rings of Polish cops around this memorial because a kid was doing razor scooter tricks on it.
Oh God,
that happened to me in Prince Edward Island when I was 9. They made me get off the Confederation Memorial
because you were doing razor scooter tricks.
Yes, I was.
The other thing was they just fully abolished this Polish Air Force squadron. Now, when Polish leaders want to fly anywhere, they just fly commercial, which sucks, I guess. I kind of like the sort of, I like the livery and stuff, but then again, it's probably not worth killing everybody important in the country over. This is
don't put everyone on the same plane.
Yeah, this is genuinely, I would argue, the Smolensk air disaster is one of the reasons why Poland is currently capital L, capital T like this right now. I think you can kind of draw a line between all of the fucking adults in the room, quote unquote, politicians getting fucking turned into soup like homogenate, and the fucking strike kobiet and abortion laws, and it just all of it. So I think it's prefigured a broader trend towards European and also worldwide lurches rightwards, but they got it a few years early by the simple expedient of turning their president into mulch.
Do you ever read the alternate history where Hitler never rises to power, so instead the German military is actually competent in World War II? And like a ideologue much better at being Hitler than Hitler was rises to power. I can't remember what it was called. And no, I'm not thinking about the premise for Command and Conquer Red Alert. I know what you're talking about. No.
Was that Stephen Fry's Making History?
I think it may have been.
Well, anyway,
yes.
That's the Smolensk air disaster. There was no TNT. I'm staking my reputation on this.
TNT and a missile.
Anthrax. Give me anthrax.
And both of those failed to detonate and it controlled flight in the terrain.
I'm taking anthrax.
I do not think Putin decided that he had to kill one half of this pair of identical twins to make some kind of a point.
No, is it who is it on Trash Future that says Russia's entire foreign policy is trolling?
Yeah, Milo.
Yeah. I don't think that even they, and I know they love their nerve agents, but that seems to it would backfire quite a bit.
Yeah. And you can kind of see, because like one consequence of the like all of Russian foreign policy is the crying laughing emote is when something isn't them, they will just fully go, yo, that's fucked up actually, what the fuck? As seemed to be the case here.
Well, that was the Smolensk, as Liam says it.
Smolensk.
Air disaster.
Smolensk.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up. I'm tired.
We have a section.
I apologize to every Polish person I've ever met.
It's just Roz.
Except you, Roz.
Let's get him. You go for the legs, I'll go for the arms. Yeah, all right. Safety third.
We have a section on this podcast.
Oh, we blew that.
Oh boy.
I thought you were gonna. Oh god. Oh fuck.
What's
Shit.
up, boys?
Okay. All right. Howdy, you all. I'm sure you've got plenty of these by now, but some of the more recent episodes reminded me of this incident, and I finally got around to typing it all up. This safety third involves two things well in the pod's wheelhouse, namely the interstate system of Northern Virginia and a surprise mystery guest.
Ooh.
Yes. Several years ago, I was heading out of D.C. on a beautiful summer morning, driving west on Interstate 66 for a volunteer event up in the Shenandoah Mountains. I want to draw a distinction here. Interstate 66 is not Route 66.
Route 66 does not exist anymore.
Yes,
right?
Interstate 66 is a rather middling sort of highway that runs from Washington, D.C. Through a wind gap in the Shenandoah Mountains and onto I-81, going to such exciting destinations as Manassas and Front Royal.
Get your kicks on
Interstate 66. I-66 is normally jam-packed with commuters and semi-trucks. But on this day, traffic was surprisingly light. I had just passed out of Manassas and Gainesville and into the start of farm country. When off to the left, I caught a sight of a few wisps of smoke coming up from behind some trees along the side of the highway. It looked a little more substantial than just someone burning bush, and so curious, I slowed down a little as I tried to see what was going on. Suddenly, the entire width of I-66 was engulfed in a wall of thick, dark smoke. Ahead of me, brake lights flashed and cars swerved before they were swallowed up entirely by the darkness.
Yeah, Sauron shit.
My immediate thought was a tanker must have exploded, given how rapidly the smoke had enveloped the road, even though there was no visible fireball. I couldn't see into the smoke, and I knew I didn't want to drive into it. I also knew better than to slam on the brakes in the middle of the highway, since years of driving in D.C. taught me that it was an excellent recipe for getting rear-ended by some idiot behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, catching sight of the smoke coming up from behind the trees meant that I wasn't caught completely off guard. Operating mostly on reflex, I braked hard, while pulling off onto the shoulder, stopping a few dozen yards short of the wall of smoke. Within a few moments, the smoke
Congratulations,
lifted.
You're very bright, because I would have gone head... Oh, yeah, you and I would have been dead there, bud. The last thing you would have fucking seen.
Within a few moments, the smoke lifted, revealing almost 24 cars scattered in a series of pileups across both the east and westbound lanes of the interstate. Sitting in my stopped car, it was at this point I realized that the section of highway in front of me was in fact a concealed overpass. I glanced to the right, and below the road and stretching away from me was a set of tracks in a tree-lined cut. In the distance, just pulling away around a bend, was a steam locomotive, pulling several cars, a few faint puffs of smoke emerging from its stack as it accelerated out of view. The impenetrable wall of smoke, it seems, had come from the train as it passed under the highway.
Hell yes. Train good, car bad.
611, 611, 611, 611, 611, 611.
It might have ended up differently if traffic hadn't been as light or if a semi or two had been involved, but miraculously no one was seriously hurt. After a while, a couple of cars were able to move off the highway to clear a lane, and belatedly, I was able to proceed to my volunteer event.
This is revenge for a shader, right?
Yeah.
Like after the overpass destroys a train, the train decides to claim its revenge.
Yeah, this is great heck, yeah.
Yeah.
When I got home later that evening, I went online to figure out what the hell had happened. There were no news stories about a train-induced pileup on I-66, but that wasn't too surprising, given that it takes a particularly gruesome or disruptive wreck to make the local news in D.C. But a couple of Google searches revealed that the track in question was owned and operated by Norfolk Southern, and on their website I hit pay dirt. A press release announcing that the 9 a.m. departure that very morning of a Norfolk Southern-sponsored Heritage Rail excursion from Manassas to Front Royal, Virginia, featuring the one and only pod favorite Norfolk and Western number 611, pictured here.
Big fan.
With very few pixels again.
Still looking great, though.
Yeah, I know, right? By my reckoning, the pileup occurred around 9:15 a.m., just after 611 would have exited the Gainesville rail siding and right on time for it to pass under I-66. Incidentally, at the time, I wondered why the smoke was so thick over I-66, but there was so little smoke coming from the train stack when I caught sight of it moments later. From what I was able to find, it's apparently common practice at rail events for the engineer to deliberately put out more soot and or steam when leaving or arriving a station, so as to create a thicker, more atmospheric plume for train fans and photographers.
Boomers are the fucking worst.
I will say he's probably also accelerating at that time, which is probably also going to get you a little bit more smoke. This is not the time for operating efficiently when you're accelerating the train out of the station.
Go home, boomers.
Yeah. I likely caught the tail end of such a plume on I-66 as 611 passed out of Gainesville. So how does this story become a safety third? Well, in this era of diesel and electric locomotives, I terribly suppose the event planners might not have thought about the potential ramifications of literally rolling coal under a busy interstate. Also, since the train was down in the cut, the crew and passengers had no way of knowing the chaos and confusion caused by their passing on the highway above.
Good, don't care.
Yeah.
It's car shit, not interested.
Not interested, yeah. In light of that, and somewhat optimistically, I decided to try and contact Norfolk Southern to let them know about the incident so they can incorporate it as a lesson learned into the planning process for future steam locomotive events. As it turned out, Norfolk Southern had a public safety hotline listed on their webpage, so I called them up. An operator answered and asked for details on the incident, and I began to describe what happened. About halfway through my description, however, the operator cut in. Wait, this isn't something happening now? It happened hours ago? And I confirmed that the incident had occurred in the morning. Ben began to explain I had been up in the mountains and out of cell service for most of the day, and only just been able to get home and contact the look up who to contact when the operator angrily interrupted again. Listen, if there isn't a vehicle currently on the tracks or a train off them, you're wasting our time. And they hung up.
Hell yes.
Since then, I make sure to
owned.
Since then, I make sure to stay alert whenever I pass over a railroad cut, just in case a rogue steam locomotive decides to have another go at me.
Man, I can only aspire to have that level of public service contempt. Just be like, you dare to call me on the phone? You dare to call me
a Class 1 railroad? I'd smite you if they could.
You think that you're entitled to call me on the telephone?
You would call our hotline?
Specifically set up for this purpose?
Yeah. I love to call a public safety hotline and simply get a "Who dares disturb the Norfolk Southern?"
Got like a Wizard of Oz style, giant floating face with smoke.
Well, we call, baby.
Reminds me of the 19th century cartoons about how railroads are bad because the trains are monsters that spew smoke everywhere and also have angry faces.
This is the kind of commitment to safety that won Norfolk Southern the Harriman Award for something like 20 years in a row. Until I abolished the award because for whatever reason, only Norfolk Southern could win it.
Yeah, because all of the other railroad hotlines were not as hostile.
A good way to reduce the amount of accidents on your railroad is to not report them.
That is 100% true. It's how Japan has such a low crime rate. So exactly. I mean,
such a low crime rate and such a high conviction rate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you get involved in the Japanese justice system, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's the moral of the story.
The moral of the story is give the Japanese justice system to Norfolk Southern.
Yes.
Or vice versa.
Oh, I don't like train cops, man.
Yeah, train cops are bad.
Train cops, but they have a 99% conviction rate.
I mean, they basically already have that. I mean, if you are guilty just by existing on a railroad property.
Yeah, you are. We are all damned souls.
Yes. Well, next episode's on the Tacoma Narrows Bridge disaster.
Yeah, way to spoil it.
Yeah.
Polish friend of mine has asked that we put some links to some LGBT and feminist groups in that country currently resisting the far-right populist consequences of all of the far-right not populist guys getting murked in the description. Okay. So we're going to do that.
Okie dokie. Those links are in the description.
Yeah, I'll pass those on the DM. Also, bail funds.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah, we'll do that.
We'll extend the bail funds offer again. We'll see how bad the protests get
if you give any of those Polish orgs some money, we'll do the same thing for you.
That's our special kielbasa offer.
Yeah.
That's right.
ACAB always, ACAB tomorrow, ACAB forever. Cops are not your friends. Don't talk to cops. Nope. I shouldn't have to explain to you why people getting murdered in cold blood by the state is a bad thing. If you've made it to the end of the episode and you're a bootlicker, I have no advice other than to bleep yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, see? I'm not putting in the actionable threats this time.
Excellent.
Well done. We're all very proud of you.
All right. Do we have any other commercials before we go?
Listen to Trash Future and Kill James Bond. We just hit 10,000 downloads.
Congratulations.
I'm very happy with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's it. Damn. Really motored through that podcast.
Well, it's good because I'm going to go to bed.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, I'll feed us in.
Bye.
All right. We did it.